All right, this is going to be Take It Easy by the Eagles. We're going to have this G chord to start. So what's up there is we got a G chord. So we got a strum of down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Then we're going to a C chord where we're going to keep that pinky down there in the 3. And then we're going to go to this D minor 7 kind of thing, sus with a 3 there. So it's open on the D, 2, 1, and 3. So we got. We're going to do that twice. So there's a weird extra beat right in there. You can tell it feels kind of off. So it's either like they started the whole thing on the and of 4. It's kind of easier to just count it as if it's a 1 and then count that last one like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, bam. And then on the up of that 1 is where you got to start again. So that's the trickiest part of the song, is like getting into it. So once again, it's like. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we're back into like a new time. So we kind of added a half a beat right there. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and. So it's kind of the and of the 1 where you really start a new 1 at. So that's the tricky part of that one. So. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then your verse starts. Okay, so we'll get in the verse in a second. So once again, let's look at that beginning thing and let's do it kind of slow. 3 and 4 and. C. That D minor 7. Kind of start that same strum again. So on the verse we have this G, 3 and 4 and. And then we're gonna go G to the D to the C. So then that was like 2 bars of G and then 2 beats of G, 2 beats of D to the C. So once again on the verse, 3 and 4 and. G to the D to the C. G, D, C, back to G. Now we got E minor twice, C to G, A minor, C, 2 E minors. Then we got C to G, and again, A minor to C, G. 2 more G's, a little guitar fill right there. So once again, going through that verse, we had G, G twice, then we had G to the D to the C, and then we had G to D, C to G. 2 E minors, C to G, A minor to C, 2 E minors. Now C to G, and that goes twice. Then we got A minor to C. We got a couple G's. Now we got 2 more G's for a guitar fill. Okay, next verse, 3 and 4 and. G to D, C, G, D, and then C to G. Now this time we got E minor, but we're going to D, and then C to G, A minor C, E minor twice. Now we got the C to G twice. We got A minor C. We got G twice. Okay, so let's look at that verse again. So that verse was a little different because it's E minor went to a D instead of doing 2 E minors. That was basically about it. So 2, 3, 4. G to D. D. C to G. Now we got our E minor to D. C to G. A minor C. 2 E minors. C to G twice. A minor to C. G twice. Okay, so I am going to do the solo, but this is going to be the rhythm for the solo right here. So it starts out like a verse. G twice, and then G to D to C. So 3 and 4 and. G to D, C, D, C to G. Now we got 2 E minors, C to G, A minor C, 2 E minors. Okay, that's the end of the solo. Now we're to the next verse. This one's going to be a little different because it's going to have the G's and then the G to D, but then it's kind of A minor instead of C. So 3 and 4 and. Here goes G, D, A minor, G, D, C to G. Then we got our E minors again. C to G. A minor C, 2 E minors. Now right here, we got those upbeats. So that was after we had E minor twice, C to G, then we had A minor C and E minor twice. We're gonna have an upbeat. And that's gonna be like 4 and 1, 4 and 1. That last one there has an upbeat too. We hold that one out a little bit. So from the E minors we had an upbeat, so it's like 2, 3, 4 and, or 1, 2, 3, 4 and. We got A minor to C, 2, 3, 4 and. We hold that G there, and then you wait for that snare, pop, and then you got your outro. C twice, G twice. A little bit more poppy of a beat kind of thing. We got G, F9, C twice. We're gonna do that again. G, F9, C twice, E minor. And there's a little guitar fill to go with that at the end. So once again, the outro would be pop, G, C, gonna take it easy. So that's that part there. So we got G. Now I'm doing a thumb bass here on this one. Really, we need to get this 3, 2, 1, 3 is the most important part. But if you can get that thumb in there and mute the A string, that makes it bigger. So we got outro. F9, C twice, G, F9, C twice, and on an E minor. Okay, so now we'll get into some fills and riffs and solos and stuff like that. Okay, so the first fill that comes in on the intro, we got that. Okay, so it's kind of weird to time that out on that. You got to kind of count that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what you're doing is you're bending the 2 on the G with this 3 on the second. Now And you know, on those, you want to make sure you don't bend that lower one at all, just the bending the one away from it to get it into a chord. Because when we bend that, we end up making this chord here, right? So it's 3 bends and then a downwards. And you can do the open G and the 3 on the B there. And then you can do like the 2 and open, 2 on the D and 2 on the G. And it ends with this half step here, this 1 to open on the A to that G. So you got. And then that starts the G chord of the verse part there. So the count on that would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, and then later on there's a fill, and it's the exact same fill to lead into the next verse. Okay, and then we're gonna have the solo. So the solo comes at the end of like a. All right, so here goes that solo. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're coming down the and of that 4. You're gonna slide into that 4 from the 2 on the G string, and you hit the 3s down here. Back and forth a little. Now we're gonna hammer in this 5 on the 2nd string, and you want to hammer it in tall so you still hear that 3 underneath it. So once we did that hammer, we're back to those 3s, then we're back to the 4, 3 here, 4 on the G, 3 on the B. And we're sliding the 4 and 3 down to 2 and 1. We're going to the opens on that G and B string. So we got. Then we're going to slide back into the 4 and 3. Now here we have a 2 and 1. We're pulling the 2 out on the G string to get it open there. So we got. Now here we're going D string, O2 to that open and 1 chord there. So we do that twice. And then we got a quick slide. So we got into the 4, 3 on the 2nd, and then the chord of that. 2 and 1 to open. And then we go into the 11 and 10. And then we hit it as a chord. And then we do 9 and 7. And then we do a little half step slide from 8 to 9 on the G. To that 8 on the B. Back to that 9. So we have like 4 bends on that 10 on the B string. So let's check out all that. So we got. So it's on the 5th one that we come down. So we're going to come down from that bend on the 10, slide the 10 into 12, and hit a chord of those 12s right there. So here we have a double stop kind of bend thing. We're going to do the 9 and 7 after that. As a chord kind of. And then we got this 7 to 9 on the G. We're going to slide into the 9 and hit the little 8s. Then a 10, and then the 8s again. We're going to bend that 10, have the 1 beneath it. Bend this one down. 8, 8, 9. Hammer on the 8 to 10. We have 7 and 8. Pull off to the 10. So let's check out what we got so far. So after that we have. So we're going to bend this 7 and have the 8 underneath it. So it's kind of a, and then we're going to bend this 10 with the 10 beneath it to that 8. So that's 5 of those. And then we're going to go. So this is an interesting one. We end up in a D major chord here, but we're bending the 13 while holding the 14 on the first string. So that bends you into that D major chord. So one time. Okay, and then we're moving on to the next verse at that point. Now, the only other thing about guitar fills, really, there's a lot of little things kind of like buried in the mix, like little cool things in the background. But our last thing that we're going to have is when we're doing that outro. Right here at the end, we got. Okay, so that ends up going with that E minor. So we got bend it, and then you got that chord, and then you bend it again. And that ends up being like that chord, that 4-3. So that's part of like an E minor. It's like an E minor 7 type thing. Okay, so we got. All right, Take It Easy by the Eagles. Hope you dug that. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.